him if he'd understood the sentence. This morning, Fritzl told the Fritzl is due to serve his life.
The truth is that the people who tell jokes for a living have a way of connecting with the audience.
This morning, Fritzl told the Fritzl is due to serve his life sentence in a secure. I understand the consequences, she asked. Bill to the verdict, Joseph Fritzl.
Wonderful done with all my heart. Our first report tonight is from our correspondent Bethany Bell, one of the few British journalists allowed into the trial.
As he listened to the verdict, Joseph Fritzl remained quite still, betraying no sign of emotion. The judge asked him if he'd understood the sentence. I accept, he said in a low voice. Do you understand the consequences, she asked, and he nodded. She told him he had the right to appeal. Fritzl glanced at his lawyer and replied he would not. Then he was taken out of court, surrounded by policemen. Fritzl is due to serve his life sentence in a secure psychiatric facility in one of Austria's prisons. Speaking through a translator, the prison official Erich Huber-Gunsthofer explained what would happen to him now.
He's going to be sent first to a coordination center at Wien Mittersteig, where 5 questions will be dealt with. First of all, can he undergo therapy at all, and is he motivated and willing to undergo therapy? Can his personality, his attitude be changed? Is he ready for such a change? And what therapy can be applied?
This morning, Fritzl told the court he couldn't undo what he'd done. I can't make it better, he said. I just want to limit the damage. The verdict followed a week of horrifying evidence. The court heard how Fritzl had raped his daughter more than 3,000 times, often in front of their children in the damp, stinking cellar. Much of the case took place behind closed doors. The testimony of his daughter was too sensitive for the public. For Joseph Fritzl's family, justice has finally come, but the scars of his crimes are likely to last a lifetime.
It's almost a year since the truth was first uncovered, when one of the girls Fritzl fathered with his daughter Elizabeth became seriously ill. He led her and her mother out of the bunker to seek medical help. It was at this point that his world of secrecy and denial began to unravel. Our correspondent Steve Rosenberg reports on how a man who'd been regarded as a pillar of society went on to subvert its most fundamental values.
He's been called a monster, a maniac. During his trial, Joseph Fritzl was even described as looking like the nice old man living next door. So who is Joseph Fritzl, and what drove him to commit such appalling crimes? The answer may lie in his hometown of Amstetten. At school, Peppy, as Fritzl was known, was seen as a loner.
Reported him seriously ill. He led her and her mother out of the bunker to seek medical help.
Man living next door.
Her and her mother out of the bunker to seek medical help. It was at this point that his world...
A maniac. During his trial, Joseph Fritzl was even described as looking like the nice old man living next door.
As a pillar of society, went on to subvert its most fundamental values.
He's been called a monster, a maniac. During his trial, Joseph Fritzl was even described as looking like the nice old man living next door. So who is Joseph Fritzl, and what drove him to commit such appalling crimes? The answer may lie in his hometown of Amstetten. At school, Peppy, as Fritzl was known, was seen as a loner. Friedrich Lehmlehner was one of his classmates. Fritzl's family was very poor, Friedrich says. Sometimes we would give him bread to help him, but he never wanted other kids to come round to his house. Perhaps that's because home for Fritzl was a living nightmare. Fritzl has revealed his mother despised and beat him. She only conceived him, he claims, to prove she was fertile. Unloved and unwanted, Fritzl developed a thirst for complete control over the people around him. In the 1960s, he was convicted of rape and given a prison sentence. 2 decades later, he turned his cellar into a dungeon for his own daughter. So certain was he that it would never be found, he even took in lodgers upstairs. like Alfred Dubanowski. 80% of the time, Fritzl was in a bad mood, Alfred tells me. Once I caught him arguing with his regular family. He threatened to gas all of them if they didn't obey him. Psychiatrist Adelheid Kastner has spent 6 days talking to Josef Fritzl. What does she make of him?
He's not a monster, he's a human being. But if you look in history, the worst things that happened to other people were done to them by people, not by monsters.
He spent most of his life seeking power over people. But according to psychiatrists, Josef Fritzl's world has now collapsed, like a house of cards. He's finally lost control.
The parlous state of the public finances has been underlined by another sharp rise in government borrowing. Increasing unemployment and a big fall in tax receipts meant the Treasury had to borrow £9 billion last month, taking its total borrowing down from in a speech in
to be higher, of course, and that the society is going backwards. That's the fundamental, that the society is going backwards. That's the fundamental reason
of the economic crisis. What about President Sarkozy's 3/4 of French people demanding more government protection for jobs and wages. 3/4 of French people backed this day of action. There's a growing sense of anger here about President Sarkozy's and employers' handling of the economic crisis.
There is a general feeling of bitterness that the society is going backwards. That's the fundamental reason for us to be here. We want the wages to be higher, of course, and there is a big problem in France about employment.
We are here to say we are workers and we are more important than profits.
The strike.
Workers and we are more important than profits.
The strike.
Important than profits. We are
employment.
We profits.
The strike caused disruption to air and rail service.
Workers and we are more important than profits.
The strike caused disruption to air and rail services, and some schools and offices were forced to close. President Sarkozy insists his government has nothing more to offer struggling families.
Southport from
Wasn't a politician, a student or dissident. She didn't even live in communist East Germany, the GDR. She was a secretary at the American Embassy in Bonn, in West